3, 5-7. 7. 17. 8. 22. The early post-flood society and its problems. Following the flood, a patriarchal arrangement apparently was the basic structure of human society, providing a measure of stability and order. Mankind was to fill the earth, which called not merely for procreating, but for the steady extension of the area of human habitation throughout the globe. GE 9. 1, 7. These factors, of themselves, would reasonably have had a limiting effect on any social problems, keeping them generally within the family circle and making unlikely the friction that frequently develops where density of population or crowded conditions exist. The unauthorized project at Babel, however, called for an opposite course, for a concentrating of people, avoiding being scattered over all the surface of the earth. GE 11. 1-4. See language. Then, too, Nimrod departed from the patriarchal rule and set up the first kingdom Heb. Mar-Lar-Car. A Cushite of the family line of Ham, he invaded Shemite territory, the land of Ashur-Assyria, and built cities there as part of his realm. GE 10. 8-12. God's confusion of human language broke up the concentration of people on the plains of Shinar, but the pattern of rulership begun by Nimrod was generally followed in the lands to which the various families of mankind migrated. In the days of Abraham 2018 to 1843 BCE, kingdoms were active from Asian Mesopotamia on down to Egypt, where the king was titled Pharaoh rather than Melech. But these kingships did not bring security. Kings were soon forming military alliances, waging far-ranging campaigns of aggression, plunder, and kidnapping. GE 14. 1-12. In some cities strangers were subject to attack by homosexuals. GE 19. 4-9. Thus, whereas men doubtless banded together in concentrated communities in search of security, compare GE 4. 14-17, they soon found it necessary to wall their cities and eventually fortify them against armed attack. The earliest secular records known, many of them from the Mesopotamian region where Nimrod's kingdom had originally operated, are heavy with accounts of human conflict, greed, intrigue, and bloodshed. The most ancient non-biblical law records found, such as those of Lipitishta, Eshnana, and Hammurabi, show that human living had become very complex, with social friction producing problems of theft, fraud, commercial difficulties, disputes about property and payment of rent, questions regarding loans and interest, marital infidelity, medical fees and failures, assault and battery cases, and many other matters. Though Hammurabi called himself the efficient king and the perfect king, his rule and legislation, like that of the other ancient political kingdoms, was incapable of solving the problems of sinful mankind. Ancient Near Eastern Texts, edited by J.B. Pritchard, 1974, pages 159-180. Compare PR 28. 5. In all these kingdoms religion was prominent, but not the worship of the true God. Though the priesthood collaborated closely with the ruling class and enjoyed royal favor, this brought no moral improvement to the people. The cuneiform inscriptions of the ancient religious writings are devoid of spiritual uplift or moral guidance. They betrayed their gods worshipped as quarrelsome, violent, lustful, not governed by righteous standards or purpose. Men needed Jehovah God's kingdom if they were to enjoy life in peace and happiness. Toward Abraham and his descendants. True, those individuals who looked to Jehovah God as their head were not without their personal problems and frictions. Yet they were helped to textually acute miritra longo, Kingdom of God 162 arrangement, or agency, for governing the earth, solidly founded on his sovereign authority and will, though the realization of this hope was then afar off. Heb 11. 8-10, 13-16. Thus, Jesus, already anointed by God to be king, could later say, Abraham rejoiced greatly in the prospect of seeing my day, and he saw it and rejoiced. Job 8. 56. Jehovah brought the development of his promise regarding the kingdom CGE 3. 15 a step farther by the establishing of a covenant with Abraham. GE 12. 1-3. 22. 15-18 in connection therewith, he foretold that kings would come from Abraham and his wife. GE 17. 1-6, 15, 16. Though the descendants of Abraham's grandson Esau formed shakedoms and kingdoms, it was to Abraham's other grandson, Jacob, that God's prophetic promise of kingly descendants was repeated. GE 35. 11, 12. 36. 9, 15-43. Formation of the Israelite nation. Centuries later, at the due time GE 15. 13-16, Jehovah God acted on behalf of Jacob's descendants, now numbering into the millions. See Exodus. The number involved in the Exodus, protecting them during a campaign of genocide by the Egyptian government. X1. 15-22 and finally freeing them from harsh slavery to Egypt's regime. X2. 23-25 God's command to Pharaoh, delivered through his agents Moses and Aaron, was spurned by the Egyptian ruler as proceeding from a source with no authority over Egyptian affairs. Pharaoh's repeated refusal to recognize Jehovah's sovereignty brought demonstrations of divine